Today's episode of the Mind Sculptors podcast is made possible through the gracious support of our Patreon members. If you wish to join this esteemed group, simply visit patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors and become part of the SCULPTY family today. And of course, if you prefer a simpler gesture, we invite you to subscribe, leave a like and comment on YouTube, or leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts as a most fitting offering to the ever-watchful algorithm Jesus.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mind Sculptors podcast, where it's been so long that I'm the person saying that now.
Oh, my goodness. What a month. What a month.
Indeed.
Sorry for the delay. I was gone for, I was on vacation for a week. We went down to Myrtle Beach. It was absolutely delightful.
Hell yeah.
And then in our infinite wisdom, well, this isn't necessarily how we would have liked to have planned it, but this was kind of how my mother-in-law planned it. The week after our vacation, we moved. So that's why you might notice that my background is different. And that is why. So we're no longer in Cincinnati. But yeah, so we did that, and now we are back, and I have internet, which took a couple days, and you know, we're still getting stuff, you know, the whole new house situation, or new to us house.
Yeah.
We're getting everything. We're getting settled. It's good. Cassidy's first day of work was today.
Wow.
Just you know, lots of life happening.
Lots of life. Yeah.
And then you won a time twister.
I did. Number 3.25 technically, but yeah. yeah, it's pretty sweet. Happy about that. Doing a sort of a return to form, but also in the way that they say never be afraid to kill your heroes type of way, where I played Kinnan, but it is the version I've been calling Abomination Kinnan, which is nothing even close to the original Kinnan.
Okay. Well, I think we will probably get into that here today, because we are here to do our power rankings for the month of August. The month of August has come and gone, and we are here to give you our top 10. Couple pieces of information that is worth keeping in mind as we talk about things. One, the snapshot thing that Top Deck implemented did not really change the number of unknown commanders we were getting.
Oh, sure.
We are still hovering right around 15% of question mark there.
Yeah.
I imagine that is an ongoing process to like solve that.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, again, I just want to remind people that we have, you know, the biggest stat we have is a question mark. So that is one thing to keep in mind as we talk about all of this stuff.
I mean,
today.
I even ran into it last weekend, right? Like, technically speaking, my winning list is a big question mark right now, because we were at a place with bad reception, and I went to submit the deck like 3 or 4 times, and it just didn't let me. So then I had to send it to the head judge.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of stuff that plays into that. So that that's a whole long discussion, but it's important to keep that in mind when we talk about these things, because the second piece of information is the Top Deck Invitational was this month, and that was included in these numbers. And so when we are looking at what some of these numbers look like, it is important to note that that was a very unrepresentative field of what the general meta game looks like. We like to talk about, I have right here the Crab Shack meta sticker. That is not the Crab Shack meta.
Yeah.
That is not what the general stuff is. And so when we are talking about these power rankings and the numbers, I know for my rankings,
Yeah.
I tried really hard to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I had not over penalized some decks.
Well, that's the crazy part too, is that like if we look at Steel City, that makes it even more interesting, right? Because there are decks now with like that you know, for example, there are several decks that you know colored my decision going into this month. I did look at the data and like use the raw data for a decent amount of it, right? But like there are some things that I have opinions on that I'm like going to share today that I think are agnostic of the data because of just what I saw being there, right? And I can't tell you how many like of certain archetypes bubbled out of top 16 of the open, but were like 3 wins, 1 loss, 4 draws that would have top cut any tournament, period. Right.
Well, that's the thing. That was like a 500 person event.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Where that also skews the data.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Incredibly.
Yeah. No, completely changes the data. Because think about how many decks are looking like they didn't convert because a lot of them showed up to the open and didn't make top cut. Right. Like even with good records, right? So like it is the data this month is drastically affected, right? We mention this almost every time we have a 300 person plus or like 280 plus person tournament here on the channel, right? It like when we are having months where it's all 65 to 128 to 150 person tournaments, it's a lot more of a consistent data set, right? But when you start to add some of these larger variables in, it starts to get incredibly messy. And then also not to mention, right, you have a 20K tournament that 500 players are traveling to. It means that like other tournaments potentially are not going to be doing as well number-wise because guess what? There's a 500 person tournament that people are spending all their travel budget on, right? And stuff like that. So
yeah, we did see a smaller data pool this month than we normally do. But with that being said, we also had a lot of big event entry, so that'll be interesting. Another thing to keep in mind here as things get closer, I don't have a ton of information about it yet, but I did agree I know I'm going to be, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be there too, is Frenzy at the Falls in at the end of November up in Niagara Falls, New York. We are going to have more details about that coming soon.
Yep. Excalibur events, the people who just did Steel City, the people who've so I don't know that everyone knows this, but like Excalibur is 2 people. It's Baldy, who's a judge who's been around literally for like since the incremental parts of this format and who's judged a lot of major events and TO'd a couple as well.
He's also just like a very well respected judge.
Yeah, in the community. And also Ryan, who has done like things like Festival of Nights and stuff like that, like already known established tournaments in the community, right? So it's a lot of good TOs. They just ran the largest event ever, and now they're keeping it up. So they're doing an event that I'll be at called the Wilkes-Barre Beatdown at the end of September, and then they're doing festival or the
Frenzy at the Falls.
Frenzy at the Falls. Thank you. I was like, there's a bunch of F names.
Yeah, no, seriously, they really like the frenzy.
Yeah,
frenzy and the beatdown. And that sort of idea. But
you sounded so old. Like they love the frenzies and the beatdowns.
I saw it on the Facebook.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, we're going to be attending those events, so we will be giving out some information as those things get closer.
Oh yeah.
Without further ado, let's get into this power rankings. So Ian, excuse me. You know the soda burps you get sometimes? That's what that was. That's what I get for drinking a Coke while we're recording.
Yeah.
Last month, your honorable mention was Tivit.
Yeah.
What do you got here for your honorable mention this month?
Rest in piss, Tivit. Where the fuck is that deck on here?
Both Tivit and Marnius just
Esper.
bad months.
Yeah. Esper had an awful
Esper
month, except Ishtola. Ishtola actually had a good month, but it was very low represented. So that's very interesting numbers. Also, like I heard a lot of people talking about, I do wonder, is this a byproduct of maybe some of these tournaments that people are taking more, air quotes seriously? Like, are they just giving up on doing Esper and just playing Blue Farm? I wonder if that's a thing, because the numbers on people just playing these decks this month is criminally low. Like it is really weird,
like significantly lower than we normally see. And one of the other things, and I think this is worth noting, is, and we've talked about this before when we had big events, but it's like people tend to gravitate to like known quantities or like sure things, so it were. And so like, you know, a good example, like Tim Necrom saw a 4% increase in play this month.
Yeah.
And I can tell you it's because of Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that is why.
And I will say 73 decks total for Esper this month.
Yeah.
For the top 3 decks in Esper. That's not a lot for that archetype.
It's usually closer to 200.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it is worth noting. But anyways, my my honorable mention this month is Rocco. Rocco is a deck that I just think, I mean, first of all, if you look at its win percentage this month, it's like about 32%, which is like anytime anything's over 25, we start to make note of it in general here, right? But over, you know, a small amount of pilots, but there's been a number of pilots, especially in the past couple months. This comes back to that conversation we were talking about earlier, where it's just like, is it winning every tournament? No. Are a small group of pilots continually doing well at events that maybe surpass the size of expectation? Yes, right? So I think it's one of those decks that if you get to be comfortable pilot with it, it cooks pretty hard. And, you know, if you look at decks like that, and you know, once again, look at a 32% win rate, it's a very good win rate for the month. So yes, it doesn't have any tournament wins for the month. It only has 1 top 4, but like, that's also through 12 participants, right? So I think the win numbers are something I'm looking at a lot here, as far as like deck is, you know, half of the people who played it made top 16 this month. You know, like that is not a number to scoff at. You know.
Yeah. I mean, like,
sorry, not half. I totally misread that number. A quarter, my bad.
But
yeah.
One of the things that I have Rocco in my top 10, like I did last month. But and I'll talk about this a little bit more later. Is Rocco kind of reminds me a lot of Sisay in some regards, specifically in how it's this really flexible, hard to deal with creature combo package.
Yeah.
That is just really well suited for this metagame.
It's the fastest of the tutor decks, like, right? So if we look at the 3 archetypal tutor decks of the format being Magda, Sisay, and Rocco definitely has the speed game in lock.
Yes, right? Yes. I fully agree with you there. My honorable mention for the month, this is where I have Inala Archmage Ritualist.
Mine's high.
Inala historically does not see a lot of play. However, Inala is, if Inala saw more play, I think I would consistently have it on this power rankings, if I'm being honest with you. Whenever it shows up, it does well. It had a tournament win this month. It also had 331 win percentage, batting right at a quarter on your top cut percentage. That's good numbers, you know, and I like seeing that from this deck. One of the things that I really like about Inala is it's just a very hard to deal with win. Like, it is very hard to interrupt the Inala win. And people who know how to do it well are going to do it in a way that it's also just like kind of just happening. And you're like, oh shit, I wasn't even ready for this. So I think Inala is kind of in a really good spot right now. It's kind of doing that Grixis mid-range, but not really like the Grixis combo-y stuff that isn't the whole Turbo Nas shell that people have been doing. And I just think it hits on a really unique angle right now.
Yeah.
And very well positioned. And so it'll be interesting to see if it gains any more popularity with that tournament win.
I will be talking about it more later.
Oh boy. Well, let's go ahead and get into our top 10. Ian, here at number 10 last month, you had Rogsai. What do you have here this month?
Oh man, Rogsai had a bad month last month. I forgot. Yeah. Magda I have here. Okay. I think Magda's done enough to put some respect on its name for the month. It's always one of those decks that's like somewhere around my top 10, if not my top 15, right? I don't know if I love it in the metagame right now. I think I've seen a lot of good Magda pilots struggling to just get their dubs, right? That being said, some of them are doing it. They're doing it well. The deck keeps getting fun new tools from all these new sets. Are they all generational Magda rebranders? No, like some of them are just, okay.
Some of them are just role players, and that's fine.
Some of them are just role players, but you know, at the end of the day, Magda gets the job done if it puts its whole back in it, right? Like it is a deck that, you know, maybe suffers variance a little bit more than I would like in the format, but as we go in this top 10, boy, are we going to talk about some decks that do that. So fuck it, you know, like whatever.
No, I totally agree with you.
You know, like it's a deck that like people show up with and they put respect on it, you know, for a deck that like has, you know, one of the overall lowest card qualities of any deck in the format. It still cooks, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. Those vanilla dwarfs, man, they really get the job done. I do not have Magda here at number 10. Last month I had Marnius Kelger at number 10. This month I have Dargo Timna here at number 10, down 3 spots from last month.
Yeah.
And one of the things about Dargo Timna is I think this is kind of, it's hard to judge. And this is one of the things I kind of talked about earlier. I am trying hard to not over penalize decks because of lower representation or not like winning events as much, because the event wins were kind of dominated by one deck. And that was a result of a higher than normal, you know,
representation
meta share. So, you know, I'm trying not to penalize it too much. Dargo Timna is still a deck that I very much believe in. You know, it's still got an above average win percentage. It's got a reasonable top cut percentage. It's not great, but it's reasonable. You know, I still like what it's doing, but I think that it did regress a little bit from where it was last month. So here I have Dargo Timna at number 10. Number 9, Ian. Last month you had the Wandering Minstrel. What do you have this month?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the Minstrel players this month. They had a bad month. I think maybe
they disappeared is what happened.
People maybe figured it out, or also maybe, you know, as you mentioned, maybe it was game time and people did not.
Meta share numbers were just down.
Yeah,
for all decks except Tymna Kraum.
Yeah,
across the board.
I mean, like, should we expect this? You know, when we have the Invitational in a 500-person tournament? Yeah, absolutely. Is it kind of a weird month to report on? Absolutely. Are we going to take other information out of it apart from people are just, you know, playing it safe? Yeah, of course. Right. Like, yeah. And I think something to note, this is a good time to tangent just because we're talking about it. I think it's very easy to look at a blue farm mirror of the finals of the Invitational and get doom and gloomy about stuff like that. Right. It's also very important to recognize that that is a tournament in which about like almost half, if not more, of the players showed up with that deck. Right.
It was a third of that field. Was
really only a third. I'm actually surprised. I thought it was gonna be more.
But half of the top 16 was Tymna Kraum.
Right. And so like that affects these numbers quite a lot, right? And I think if you contrast that with the Open, which had one of the most diverse top 16s we've ever seen, period. Right. And yes, it did have Tymna Kraum representation. Yes, I'm not trying to take away the fact that we've put Tymna Kraum as our top deck for the past, you know, X months. And yes, we'll probably do it again today. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Right. But like, I think there is a very real understanding here that this is a more, you know, a more nuanced conversation than just like play Tymna Kraum. You know, like I think that is. If that is your takeaway from this, then like click off the episode now because you're not going to get a lot out of the stuff that we're talking about, which I do think is actually very important to talk about. Anyways, all that being said, moving on to my number 9, I have Rogthras. I think this deck is kind of shitting the bed, if I'm being honest.
It is regressing a lot.
It did bad at the Open, which I do think is part of it, right? We only had one top 16 list. And I don't think did it make the top 16 of the MV? I don't think so. No, it did because Jordan Drake did it. Oh no, what was he playing? He wasn't playing Rogthras, was he? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Anyways, doesn't matter. But anyways, Rogthras is having a bad month, and I think it's because people are establishing it as an understood deck nowadays. I keep hearing about people playing tech pieces for the Cradle decks, right? And like that is a deck legitimately that if you stop it from doing the thing, if you stop it from developing its plan, that deck falls apart very easily, right? Like I've seen Tim McGrom get like Culling Ritualed and then untap and win with a Breach, right? You won't see that shit from Rogthras. I mean, you might literally see that exact pattern from Rogthras, but they would have to have a lot of stuff going on in that graveyard, right? Specifically to get them out of it, right? So it is definitely a deck that sort of is good, right? It
is board state dependent.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna ever dip out of our top 10, at least with the way the format trajectory is moving. But like, it's definitely important to recognize that it is a deck that people can target down, right? And I think it's going to be a natural ebb and flow style thing where every time Rogthras is good, it get recognized as good, and then people play things for anti-creature hate, right? And then when you look at larger tournaments, those creatures get swept up, and then someone else comes in to clean it up, or people are playing things like board sweepers when instead they should be stopping you winning, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't have Rogthras here at 9. I don't have it a whole lot higher though. So that is a little bit of a preview of what's to come for me. My number 9 here. This is actually where I have Atali. Atali had a bit of a bounce back from what was what I would say is a regression last month.
Yep.
This is a high highs and low lows deck.
Yep.
I mean, even then, this deck was still kind of operating below average on the win percentage side. So I think we saw some of the top end of it do really well. With that being said, though, you know, the top cut percentage is still reasonable at 22.5%. Like I'm fine with that. It's not my favorite, but like, I think that's not the worst number that I've ever seen. Especially when you look at, you know, what that average tends to look like. You know, I still think it has all the same issues, but it's hard to ignore the fact that it won a couple tournaments this month. So, you know, I have my same reservations about it, but I have it here at 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving. You're good.
I was gonna say I have Atali higher.
Okay.
But there's a big asterisk on it being higher, right? So we'll talk about that when I get to it.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Number 8. This is where you had Dargo Timna last month. Ian, what do you have this month?
I got another proactive deck here. We got a little guy who flips some coins. We're talking about Ral. Ral had a really good month. 30% win rate overall. I think it did very, very well at the Invitational. Blake got 18th place, I'm pretty sure, off of it. He was right behind me. Still cooking with that deck quite often. Has a win this month, multiple top 4s. I mentioned last month, if you target it down, it's a deck that does suffer to that, right? But at the same time, I watched a game literally yesterday where someone just went, all right, cool, like gemstones into ramp piece into get Ral out off of Jessica's will and then flip like 6 cards and win on that turn, right? Just like immediately won the game, right? And like, so sometimes, you know, the deck still just does it, even if you do intend to target it down, right? Especially if you're in one of those pods that's a little bit less responsible, like just Ral says, thanks. Hey guys, I'm going to clean up real quick. And good pilots know how to pivot, all that kind of stuff. They know how to force draws if they need to, right? Like it's still a very powerful list. It's a deck you have to respect. Like it's like Roxai. The minute you stop respecting it, the minute it becomes one of the best decks in the format, right?
Yep.
So
for sure. I mean, 30% win percentage is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
You know, it's he's doing well. I don't have Ral here. I have it a bit higher up. Here at 8, this is where I have Rogthras, down 5 spots from where I had it last month.
Yep.
You know, very much on the same page as what you are on, although I would like to point out that its worst month it's had in a while is still operating right along averages. So like, I do think that it is one of the better decks in the format that had a low month, because this is one of the things when you see these months, it's like Kinnan, Sisay, maybe not Sisay, but like Kinnan does this too sometimes. Where it will just have a worse month than what you're used to seeing. And that worst month is still better than what most decks would wish for.
And I'm willing to acknowledge this is also part of my bias, where I think Rogthras shouldn't win as much as it does. I don't think the deck is as good as people make it out to be. And it's relatively one-dimensional, in my opinion, in comparison to other decks that exist in the format, right? So that's maybe where I'm willing to be like, yeah, I'm down to just like fucking dunk it down to 9th place, because I think for how much is represented, for it being the 3rd most represented deck in the format, to me, a lot of the times the results don't make me feel like it should be, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's where I land with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. You know, I don't really disagree with you a whole lot. I have it 1 spot higher than you, so it's I don't, you know. That's how I feel. Number 7, Ian. This is where you had Terra last month. What do you have here this month?
Yeah, 5-color stuff. I feel like people just didn't play it this month. Am I crazy? Like, I don't even see.
No, you're not crazy at all. That is kind of exactly what happened.
Yeah, I don't even see in the top. Like, if we go by tournament entries, right? Like, I don't see a 5-color list for. Oh my God, where the hell are these? Okay, we have Terra down at 26 people playing it and not doing fantastic. So, yeah. Anyways, tangent aside, what I'm actually talking about is this is where I have Anala.
Okay.
So I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what's necessarily happened, but Anala has just like I'm just seeing Anala more in tournaments, and I'm seeing pilots playing Anala very well in tournaments. Something that like isn't very clear from the numbers is multiple Anala pilots were just a single win away from top 16ing the Open. Like 1 draw versus 1 win would have gotten them locked in. And this is not just one pilot. I'm saying like multiple pilots in a very large tournament. So I don't know what like, you know, what is it? Michael's secret sauce or whatever. What is it? You know what I'm talking about?
Michael's secret stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Yeah, I don't know whatever magical sauce they're all drinking, but like the Anala pilots have been cooking, and I will say like the deck's been looking good, and every pilot I've played against who's made the deck look good has known that there are times to do the Spellseeker thing, and they have known that there are times where they're like, what, me? I would never put a Spellseeker on the stack. You guys are crazy. Anyways, I'm going to play this Ristic and then discard to hand size. And is that my Scholar of Ages in the graveyard? Anyways, guys, I'm going to
no.
Yeah. But honestly, they've been cooking. And I really think like it's a deck that I traditionally don't really respect quite a lot, right, at the table. And not in the sense that like I'll just kind of like let them do whatever, because like in LFL, if you let them do the thing, they kill you, right? But like it has not put up this type of consistent results in a long time, and I've been very impressed playing against the Anala pilots lately. So genuinely, they're doing something right. I'm not really sure exactly, like I don't know that I can quantify exactly what's changed, and it might just be like some of them are just putting their right foot forward. And I will say, right, we saw this in the Open, we see this generalized, right? Like it's kind of hard to look at if you look at just the data, right? But like decks that are just winning the fucking game are doing so well right now.
Yes.
And if you look at a lot of the blue farms that are doing well, guess what? They're on Necro. They're on Adnaz. They're actually putting wins on the stack. Yep. They're not, walking around in circles being like, oh, I can't wait to keep this hand with Pact of Negation so I can force a draw, right? They're actually winning the fucking game. Yeah. And it is crazy. Like, I mean, you can even look at like my results from the past year, right? There was a point in time where I said, instead, I'm just going to win the game. And my results have been insane since then, right? Like it is, you see this with multiple pilots, people who are just not engaging in it, like exclusively locking themselves into mid-range cringe. The people who are actually putting wins in the stack and getting it done, they are getting the results, right? And I think this is where decks like these, like Ral, like Anala, like Atali, like all these decks are, and Rock Size on a Revolution too, right? They had a bad month last month, but look at the past 8 months and they've been killing it, right? So like, putting real wins on the stack and actually, I mean, and I can't stress enough, like this is not as easy as I'm making it sound. You have to find your window. You have to not be a goober about it, right? But like choosing your window, finding the right moment, knowing when to push is such a big part of it, right? But people who are trying to actually win are winning. Fun fact. What in the fuck? I'm so sad that the podcast exclusive audience has no idea what baffling thing you are doing right now. Did you get a facial hair trimmer?
No, it's just I've been playing around with my pocket knife, and
honestly, I gotta get one of those because the amount of times, I don't know if you have this, but like those times when your mustache just gets like a little bit in your face, it makes me want to commit crimes. It like makes me that angry.
Specifically when I go and get like ice cream and I have like an ice cream cone and then it's just like in my beard and I'm just like, I kind of want to kill myself right now.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I feel that.
So my number 7.
Hell yeah.
Last month, this is where I had Dargo Timna.
Yep.
This month, this is where I have Rocco here at number 7. I had Rocco at 5 last month. I don't think it's worse. I just think it just didn't take down a tournament. I actually think it's just right about as good as it has been. And I think, like I said earlier, Rocco is in a lot of ways very similar to Sisei in terms of it is a deck that wins in a way that is difficult for your opponents to deal with because people like to play cheap interaction. The fun thing about cheap interaction is it doesn't hit creatures most of the time.
Yep.
So, you know, the stuff that Rocco is, dealing, I think is really good. I think it's well positioned. And again, it is a deck like what you were just saying that just kind of fucking wins. And it turns out that is a good recipe to success. Shocker. That winning the game is good. Those are the type of hot takes that you can expect here on the Mind Sculptors. But yeah, I like what Rocco is doing. I have been more convinced of this deck the more I have just seen stats pile up over the past like 6 months. And so I got Rocco here at number 7. Number 6, Ian, you had Marnius Calgar here last month. I'm assuming Marnius is no longer here. What do you have here?
Oh no, you can see my screen. Yeah, this the podcast audience is missing a lot of gold today. This is where I have Italy. I literally put it at 9. And then the more stuff I kept adding to the top 10, I was like, I don't believe that's worse than Italy. I don't believe, or that's better than Italy. And then I just kept moving it up and up and up. One, gonna get this out of the way. If you look at the numbers from last month, Italy killed it, right? Maybe not necessarily with like the individual win percentage, but as far as like the conversions, absolutely knocked that out of the park. Something Big Bear won the largest cEDH tournament of all time. Yes, he's been doing very, very well with Italy lately, right? It is worth noting, and I did this when I did my breakdown of the Open. It was like Big Bear won the whole thing, and then like 111th place was the next best Italy, right? That is the Italy experience. I cannot stress that enough, right? And, in a 500-person tournament, I will be clear, 111th is actually not as bad as it sounds, right? But that being said, the discrepancy is real, right? Italy is a highly variant deck. It could be the best deck in the format or the worst deck in the format in a day. And that is part of it. Now, I will say, I said that there's a major asterisk here because there is never a worse time to be playing Italy than after Italy does well. On a political side of things, I will say if you're just good at jamming it, hell yeah, But I played a game or played a tournament this last weekend, right, where an Italy player made top 4, and the only Swiss rounds they won on turn 1. And that to me says a lot about the deck in any sort of longevity, right? Like it's right. Just a variance soup pile, right? That's okay. I am an Italy enjoyer. I'm an Italy apologist. I will still play this deck, all the time. Although I haven't in a while because I think the last one left a bad taste in my mouth. But that's fine. That being said, though, Dino's real. It's just
that was good shit.
Especially if you do get stuck in a game where you can't jam. The Dino Yap is especially hard when it just wins a major event, and you can't point to the rest of the Italis that showed up that day and be like, but look at the rest of them didn't do well. It just doesn't work like that, right? When Italy wins a 500 person tournament, it is hard to talk about how random and bad the deck can be. It really is, right?
Yeah.
So take your lumps, Italia players. It's okay. Wait 2 months and everyone's just like, yeah, that deck's still bad though. And we're like, yeah, anyways, turn 1 Dino on the stack. You know what I mean? Like, it does this. I still think the deck is great. Itali is just, it's the most red deck in the format, I think. Like, even more so than Godo. I think it is like, if you think about what the color red in Magic represents, Itali is the most red deck in the format.
Oh, for sure.
And so sometimes you got to expect that the deck that gives into the chaos passion part of the format is going to perform like that, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. My number 6. This is where I have Sisay Weatherlight Captain. Sisay had a little less good of a month. Again, I'm not trying to punish decks for not winning tournaments when it was pretty dominated by one deck this month. And so let's talk about the good stuff here.
Yeah.
Sisay's win percentage was above average at 27%. We love to see it.
Yep.
Had a right around average 18.2% win percentage, or top cut percentage, which is good. And had almost an 8% top 4 percentage. Like, those are good numbers. We like to see those things. And that's with 77 tournament entries. What we don't love to see is the big old 0 in the tournament wins. That is what we don't like to see when we are talking about decks that are, when I talk about like top 5 decks, those are decks that tend to have tournament wins next to their names.
I think while I understand that aspect, I think 6 top 4s makes up for it for me personally.
Yeah,
I think this format has so much variance in it, and I think people who top 16, who top 4, like, I think those numbers are important for a reason. And I think individual games that mean the win or the top 4, I don't necessarily think they count as much, TBH.
Sure. For me, I still really like Sisay, and I think it is still really well positioned. But it is very similar to Rocco, like I said, in the whole, it does stuff that's kind of harder to deal with, and I like that. But like I said, didn't win a tournament, so I keep it here at number 6 for this month. Number 5, Ian. This is where you had Kefka last month. What do you have here at number 5 this month?
This month I have Sisay Weatherlight Captain.
Okay.
I think I agree with a lot of what you say about Sisay. Honestly, the only reason I don't have Sisay higher is because the decks that are above it, I think, are just a little bit better positioned right now.
Yeah.
I think, it is worth noting that Sisay is one of the only other decks that did well at the Invitational. I think it's worth noting that Sisay is a good deck, just period, right now. I think Sisay, I think there are still adaptations being made to the deck to adjust it accordingly. I think when Cabbage Man comes out, Sisay is going to feel even stronger.
That's going to be really good for the deck.
That Cabbage Man, I think, is we'll talk about that when
we'll talk about that when that set rolls around.
Yeah, that is unironic.
Still got a couple sets before then.
They could not have made a sillier card a disturbingly powerful staple of the format. Yeah. But that being said, I think Sisay's still cooking pretty hard. I think the deck's really solid. Being 5th place here is not a knock against Sisay, and I think I have really very few complaints about Sisay Weatherlight Captain. I think it's done a really good job of bouncing back from the post-ban blues. And it feels like, it feels like pilots were wearing the ankle weights for a little bit of being like, how do we just be what we aren't anymore? And it feels like everyone just kind of said, like, all right, hoist up from the bootstraps, everybody. This is our reality. Let's win with this Sisay right here, right now.
I really like Sisay has some of that, like, trying to think of a band to make this comparison with, but like, it makes me think of that band that was really good when it came out. Everybody really liked it.
Sure.
And then it kind of got stale. And then they reinvented themselves and kind of made a second return, and it was really good. And that's kind of what I'm trying to come up with an example in my head, but
I don't really have one either.
I don't have one.
Coldplay?
I know they're there.
Coldplay? Is that where Coldplay had a downtime and then kind of came back?
Coldplay's always been.
Yeah, I don't know.
Coldplay's never had a hard time selling out stadiums.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you're saying about to say. Like I said, it at 6 is not a knock. You know,
or 5.
My number 5. This is where I have Ral. Believe it or not, Ral only moving up 1 position for me. I had Ral at 6 last month. I have it here at 5 this month, and Ral for me. I just like what I am seeing from Ral right now. 30% win percentages. I love seeing like win percentages over 30. That's always such a green flag to me for decks. And then when you have top cut percentages over 20, we're really starting to talk about some good stuff. You know, I want to also, while I'm here, because I'm sure the Magda pilots are going, okay, well, Magda's in your top 4 then, right? I hate to break it to you, but it's not. I'm just done putting Magda on and off my list. You guys are my permanent number 11 deck in the format. That is where it will always be for me. It is always the 11th best deck at any given time. What'd you say?
I said you and Magda's abusive relationship.
Listen, I love Magda. I think that it is incredibly well positioned, and I'm just going to tell you right now, it is always my 11th best deck in the format. I don't think it will ever be better or worse than that. That being said, I like where Ral's at right now. I think Ral does a lot of stuff really well for this metagame. The kind of, you know, shut up and show me mentality of that deck is very well suited for what's going on right now. And I think that these fast decks have, you know, the stuff that I like to see going around at this moment, you know, especially when there is so much, you know, mid-range nonsense. A deck that's able to just go, here I win, is good. So I have Ral here at number 5. Number 4, Ian, was where you had Rogthras last month, and we know that it had a bit of a fall from grace for you.
Yeah.
So what do you have at number 4 this month?
The other Rog. Yeah, the Rog side jumped back up. It's been doing really well lately. Had a good run.
I also have Rogsai here.
So what I think is really interesting is right now, I think the numbers are really generous to Rogsai. And what I noticed is like I started looking at pilots over the past month or two.
Yeah.
And this, I'm doing a prolonged setup for my number 3, and this is going to make more sense, is that I think if you go to a tournament every weekend in a month with Rogsai, you will probably top 4 or win one of those tournaments. I would also
really bad like me.
I would also expect that you go 0-4 in one of those tournaments. You know, maybe not 0-4, but like 1-3. Because I genuinely think this deck is so volatile right now. If you hit the sweet spot, especially like it feels like the deck that is the most subjected to turn order in this format. Maybe a top league.
Seriously.
But like it really feels like the volatility is there, right? Like I watched a player who like top forward a huge event this month, and then like got 22nd in their 64-person tournament in like within a 2-week period of time, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's where I have my skepticism with Rogsai. Now the positives are people are showing up and killing it. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like that part is good and it's working, right? And I think that is a super solid thing to be able to lock down as far as like if you want to show up with a Rogsai, I think you'll probably be fine, right? Like it's just more the case of, you know, there's going to be good runs and there's going to be some dog shit runs, and like you got to be okay with both with the deck because it is, susceptible feels like the word, right? Like the variance of the format will kick the shit out of that deck or propel it so forward.
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind with Rogsai when we talk about it is it's a deck that doesn't mid-range very well.
No.
And you know, I can hear the Rogsai pilots slamming their keyboards now and telling me, actually, heuristic study is our main game plan, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like, no, it's not. I get it. But, you know, you have contingencies. I get that. But the reality is, and this is fine, you've made a trade-off. And like, I don't think this is a bad quality of the deck for what it's worth. You have made the trade-off of, instead of having more card draw or a win con in the command zone, I want the speed in the command zone. And that is okay. But that does come with a trade-off of, you're not going to have the same type of late game wheels that some other decks are going to have. And that's fine. Like, that is okay. Every deck doesn't have to be, you know, the grindy deck at the table. Some decks just got to go shut up. Just, you know, let's fucking go. And Rogsai is a deck that is very much like that. I like where Rogsai or Atali, right? You know, I think that, you know, for those of our audio only listeners might be missing out my reflection in Ian's Atali picture. You can't even see the picture, Ian. It's just me in the reflection.
I have had this next to me for months, and I cannot believe I've never whipped this out.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked you haven't done that yet, too. But yeah, both of us here with Rogsai at number 4. Number 3, Ian, this is where you had Kinnan last month. Given your success, I think you might have Kinnan a little bit higher, but where do you have what's here at 3?
All right. This is where I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I have Kefka at 3.
Hey, me too.
Oh, fuck yeah. Crazy. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think this deck is real. I have people asking me a ton post Steel City, you know, is Kefka really the truth? I think so. Yeah, honestly. Kefka is being built in a bunch of different ways. I still am a huge fan of the turbo first, pivot to Kefka later plan, right? Like, I was working with a student of mine a couple days ago. Literally, we were goldfishing hands, and I was like, all right, cool. So we can send this turn 2 unprotected Nas. And they're like, but it's a turn 2 unprotected Nas. And I was like, cool. If it gets countered, we have a Soul Ring and a land drop. We just go and play Kefka next turn. I don't give a shit. like, do you know how free that is as a deck? Like, and does it work that way every time? No, not at all, right? I just genuinely think the clown is real. I've been saying it since we did our set review. This deck will be in our top 10 ad nauseum, pun intended, right? Like, I genuinely think, is it always going to be here at number 3? No, I don't necessarily know that that's the case, but it feels like it hangs with all of the best decks in the format. It can be more mid-range if you need it to be so, right? Like, in the same sense that Blue Farm, like, look at the differences between these Blue Farm lists, right? Like, the people can succeed with the Supreme Verdict no Nas version of the deck list on Curse Totem and shit like that. And they also can recognize that the format needs speed right now and be on the Necro Nas variant, right? Like, both of these things can exist within the frame that is Blue Farm because the commanders are just good value engines in the zone. That's Kefka. Kefka is the same way, right? Like, I have seen a no Nas, no Necro version of Kefka win a tournament. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know about this deck. It can be both, right? Obviously, you know, going 4-4 in the Steel City Open, I had a bad string of luck in the first day of that competition. I've also, for anyone curious, by the way, I left my Steel City 17th place list. I have taken out the cards that I'm going to take out of the deck, but I put them in the sideboard. But to maintain like the list itself, I'm not putting new cards in because I want people to be able to click on the link and like see that list. But all 5 cards that I'm looking to cut in my next rendition are in the sideboard. So it's like a 95 card.
You don't make event-specific deck lists to submit?
I do. That's what I'm saying. I want people to be able to look at that because I get a lot of questions about this deck a lot, is what I'm saying. So those are the cuts I'm going
I was like, are you a monster and you don't make...
No.
Am I about to yell at you on live TV?
I have dozens of deck specific. Like, I have, like, if you look at my, like, I think I have 30 versions of Kinnan in my
I know. I thought you did.
Yeah,
that's why I was like real confused for a second. I was like,
no,
wait a second.
You're good. But the whole point is it's a deck I believe in. It's a deck I want people to continue playing and recognize. And I think it's real. I just think it's a top 5 deck right now. And I have no problem saying that with my whole chest, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I'm going to be the downer of the two of us, not to, I want to echo everything that you are saying, but I do want to also kind of caution some people from like, you know, jumping in head first and loving or in, you know, going full throttle on this. It is important to look at some numbers with this. With its success, it has also had some incredibly below average numbers. One of which is its overall win percentage, which is at a 236. Hate that. It's also below average on its top cut percentage, which is 136. That's below average. Now, with that being said, I do think that it does really well in top cuts. I think that it is a deck that, like, very much like Tivit, is once you kind of get it to the top cut table, you know, it is not a deck like Tivit, but I'm just using it as an example of a deck that like does well post top cut.
I also think it's important to note too that like because it's still newer, I do think there are still respectfully bad Kefka lists running around in the way that you won't see with other top decks, you know?
Yes, I fully agree with that. And so that is why I am just wanting to say to use some discretion when you are picking up Kefka, and maybe not just grab whatever list you see and go like, oh shit, sick. You like use some discretion with it. Because I do think that there is some, you know, top end's really good with this. And like you said, it is new, so it's still doing some of the new deck shit. So we'll see how that shakes out. I have given it 3 months. I think I'm okay to put it up here. But you know, I want to see it bring its overall win percentage up. That is something, you know, of the 5 decks that I have in my top 5, this does have the worst win percentage, which is less than ideal. But I do think that it you know, I don't want to be too high on the tournament wins, but I think that is indicative of some positive momentum. So that's where I'm at. Number 2, Ian. This is where you had Sisse last month. Let me guess. Kinnan here at number 2.
Oh, geez. Did I give it away? Yeah, no, Kinnan feels great right now. Obviously having just won a tournament with it. Yeah, so I've been on Abomination Kinnan, which is the colloquialism for that deck list now. Thanks for everyone for the AGL 10K. But I don't know if I told you this story, but someone came up to me at Steel City. We were playing a pickup game together. I was on Kefka and all that stuff. And they leaned over the table, they looked at me and they go, by the way, what the fuck is happening with your Kinnan list? Yeah, you know, the answer is I've started jokingly referring to the deck as Dockside in the Command Zone, right? Like the old Kinnan is dead, long live the Kinnan. My deck has no big flips anymore. I guess it has Nezahal, Hullbreaker, and Wandering Archaic. My hope is that I will never put a flip on the stack. I should be clear about that. I'm trying to win on turn 3 very often. And if it has to go to a mid-range game, oh no, it has the best mid-range engines in the format.
Shit.
Plus the mana doubler in the zone.
Damn.
Geez, shucks.
Oh, geez, Rick.
Yeah. But also notably, like looking at like the critical EDH league, Hire just absolutely dunked the whole thing with Big Flips Kinnan, right?
Yeah.
A completely different variation of the archetype, right? So like Kinnan is just killing it right now. I think the deck is really real. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be really hard to put a big creature back in Kinnan for me. I don't really ever want to activate its ability again unless I'm winning the game. To be honest, the new version of Kinnan feels so clean. Because you know, guess what? It's just winning. You just put wins in the stack. Fun fact. And yeah, it feels succinct. It feels clean. The deck feels strong. You put in a little bit more free interaction than there used to be. You put in a few more draw engines. I'm not down the copy enchantment rabbit hole, but I'm doing a few, you know. And honestly, it's felt sick. I have very, very, very few complaints. Yeah, shout out to all the stock up enjoyers because that card keeps putting in work, and it's so
you
funny.
and I have been. I feel like I was on stock up a lot faster than you were.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to do a little bit of salesmanship on stock up, but
I legitimately, I think I put it in VV first. And
I remember when we were working on VV, I was like, just try it.
Yeah. I put it in VV first and then was like, oh, that's insane. And then I tried it in Abomination Kinnan version 1 as like literally a last minute audible the night before. It won me a game because I played Basalt. I did not have an outlet. And I just went, okay, what happens if I use this one blue I have to stock up? And it got me literally 2 different ways to win the game. And I was like, based. And then guess what happened last weekend? The exact same thing. I put a Basalt in the stack, made infinite mana, and said, I hope the stock up gets me there. Guess what? It did. Like it's, I don't know. That plus, it's also just solid. Like if you're in that mid range part of the game where you're like trying to look at 2 cards and like figure out how to,
it's win. Really good. You see, like I don't think people understand how powerful seeing 5 cards in and of itself is. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very similarly about Kinnan.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Kinnan generally. I do think like right now, one of the things that I like the most about Kinnan is I just feel safe with it. Like it is a deck that I just know is going to be okay, you know, and some of these other top decks right now, I don't know that I feel that same way with outside of like Timna Crom. And, you know, Kinnan makes me feel safe. Makes me feel loved. And unless I'm playing against it, in which case I don't. But you know, I like where Kinnan's at right now. All right, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. We usually don't really talk much about Timna Crom, but I think we're going to talk about it a little bit this month.
Do we need to talk about it?
Pretty notable month. So Timna Crom is our number 1. To the shock and awe of everybody. Here are some stats that I want to throw at you, and we will contextualize these. 1, it was 11% of the meta share this month. It could have been higher. I don't know because 15% was unknown. So there are question marks. There could have been more other decks represented, and we don't know. And I think that's important to talk about. It had a 292 win percentage. I have a hard time telling you know, bad things about that. It won 6 events this month. Again, could have been more. We don't know. 21 top 4s with a 0.95 top 4 percentage. And then 47 top cuts, which was a 213 top cut percentage. And that was with 221 entries. And so I do think that is notable because one of the things that we have said a lot in the past is, you know, it's a deck that, you know, sees a lot of play, a lot of different people play it. You know, the win percentage is kind of middling, but, you know, it does win more just on sheer numbers. And yes, it does win more based on sheer numbers, but the win percentage and the top cut percentage is kind of hard to ignore. Those are big league numbers. Mm-hmm. And so again, let's talk some context with that. 1, we are not for sure that there are other decks not being played. That is one thing, because 15% of the meta is a question mark. We know at least one other Kinnan win, your Kinnan win, mm-hmm. is not being represented here. That is important context to talk about, because yours was unknown. All of that to say, you know, I don't think that it is a deck that we need to be like freaking out about. And I think the context with that is also we had 2 big, you know, we had the invitational, which skews the numbers, and then we had the open, which skews the numbers. And when you have big events, there was another big event too, that I forget the other big event that happened this month. And what you see when big events like that happen is people gravitate towards known quantities. And especially when you're talking about, you know, thousands of dollars on the line and big cards on the line. And so, you know, Timna Crom is kind of the known quantity. So a lot of people are very easily going to wrap their arms around it. And so there is some of that also happens. there was a lot of discussion this past month on the cEDH internet about, is this a bad place for the format? Like, is this a bad spot for the format? And Ian, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. How do you feel about what's going on right now?
I don't like, the negativity drives me crazy sometimes. I like respectfully, it's fine. Like, Blue Farm is a good deck. Wow, we've known this for half a decade. Like, I think everybody is just like, it is so easy to generate clicks by just being like, oh, the world's on fire, right? And like, that's why people do it. Like, and sure, like, if you look at the stream from the Invitational and stuff like that, did people play good Magic? Yeah. Like, was it some Blue Farm mirrors? Yeah. Like, that's a hyper specific event, right? In which you can afford, like, someone top 16 with 1 win in 6 draws.
Yeah, the Invitational was like, wild. There were a lot of things about the Invitational that I thought were interesting, but
yeah, and it is one of those things where it's like, look, yes, people show up to the largest cEDH tournament ever, and they're not willing to take risks. That's fine. Like, think about, like, I'd be curious to see, actually, I think we can actually look at this right now. Let me check earlier, because I think on EDH Top 16 they do have metagame breakdowns, right? So I'm curious to look at, so Steel City, how many people are like playing Timnacrom, right? Yeah. So 73 out of 514, right? So like, it's a lot of people, right? It's a lot of people showing up for these events, right? And like, once again, the Invitational straight up had even a third of the field you mentioned, right? Like, that's another like almost 30 decks, right?
I mean, that's a third of the
the month, right?
Or actually, that's a half.
Yeah, that's half of the month right there, right?
Yeah,
that is half of the Timnacroms of the month, right? So like, yeah, the deck's gonna show up and people are gonna play it well and they're gonna do well with it. That's okay, right? Like, every local Timnacrom player who like kind of does well with the deck, they probably showed up to something this month. Like, they probably did, right? The deck is good, but it's fine. Like, we're fine. Like, the deck has a top cut percentage of 20%. That's not disturbing. Do you know how many formats in Magic would kill for a best deck to only top cut 20% of the time? To only have a 29% win rate? And yes, it doesn't scale the same way cEDH does, but that's fine. Like, it's all fine. The format's so healthy. Like, I don't know. People are crazy, man. Like,
yeah. I had made a tweet on the 20th of August where I said, wild how the 65 player Invitational is getting all the airtime while the 500 player Open gets ignored. Numbers without context mean nothing, and your attention is valuable, so give it with care. I fully stand behind that again, because again, if people are only talking about the Invitational and the issues with the Invitational and what that metagame looked like and blah, 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 we are missing the bigger picture, because there is more than just the Invitational, and I don't think that's necessarily indicative of the greater metagame.
Yeah, and I literally said this last year when I was at the Invitational. When I talked for the Invitational, I said, "Hey, I did really well at this tournament. Ignore this tournament." like it's just not like what you're gonna have reflected in most scenarios, right? Like, it's just not, and that's okay. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like, I genuinely think like the format's in such a healthy place. There's a lot of good decks out there right now. Like, look at how much ebb and flow is in our top 10 from last month.
Seriously.
Like, we're like, the format's so good. We've got a bunch of new sets coming out with really good cards. Like, there's new commanders that are all interesting and unique design spaces. Things like Final Fantasy like added so much to the format. We talked about how Wandering Minstrel kicked ass last month and just wasn't even played this month. That's a whole other deck to explore, right? And that's one of many decks that we talked about just didn't get explored this month, right? It's like fucking Ezio top 16 the Open.
I was just about to say that. I was like, fucking board. Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, like the rules are made up. Nothing fucking matters. Like, will you have a better chance if you show up with Blue Farm in general on average? Yeah. And also, there's all this other shit. Look at Lomra. The deck's crazy. Like, people are.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Lomra today.
Like, Yeah.
It did pretty okay for
Yeah.
mono green deck. Like
Right. Like, when's the last time we looked at a mono green deck and said that's a real player in the format? cEDH is so healthy.
Right.
I'm yelling about good things. This is a good thing. The format's
Yeah.
so good. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I think that there is a lot of, I don't want to call it fear mongering, but like, there is a lot of people who are willing to just be negative about the format or just have negative mindsets about the format. And I don't have the same negative mindset. Now, granted, I understand I'm not at these events every single week, so like maybe my perception is a little bit different. But, my overall look, when I look at these stats, I don't really, I think 11% is within the healthy range. I think that this is like a pretty expected number given the context of, what happened this month. And I think when you zoom out, it drops below to closer to like 8%. So like, I think it is fine. You know, I would have liked to have seen more decks be represented in tournament wins. But again, we had 4 that we don't even know what they are. We know well, that's not true. One of them we know was Kinnan. But, overall, I think the format's doing okay. I think there is a clear deck that has set itself apart from the others, but I don't think it is the only viable deck. And I think that is the important thing to remember here is when you have other formats that have, metagame problems, the front runner is generally like the only viable option. And what it is in cEDH is it's not the only viable option. It is the option that will give you the best odds on average.
Yeah.
But there's so many other decks that are also worth playing.
It's
and
the
that's
difference between the field being like a pyramid like this and a pyramid like this. Like it is like this, right? Like where the plane is so close to being flat.
Right.
For so many decks in the top cut. And, maybe there's tiers or whatever the fuck you want to like make it, right? But like these are micro movements, right? Like is the whole point. And yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna start yelling again. So we're fine. That format's fine. Everyone, it's such a healthy format. There's so many playable decks. Like, you know how many formats would kill for like 30 very viable decks? And we have probably even more, arguably, right? If you count permutations of partners and shit like that. And like we're good. We're so good, like, I don't know.
That's how C sees it, or that's how Sue sees it. We started watching Glee this past week.
Oh, sure. I also think, someone also very much summarized it the other day, ironically on social media, but they said cEDH is a really great format when you log off and go play the game. And I think that's a really nice.
That's a great summation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, we've, went through a lot of stuff. Some, I had 2 new entries onto my top 10 this week. You had 4 new ones on yours this month.
That's the first time I've ever put a null in my top 10, by the way. So that's, I think, maybe it might have been one like
at least this year. I don't have 2024 up, but I know at least for this year, this is the first time you've had an Nala on. Let me look. Nala. We've had guests put on a Nala, but I don't think we ever have.
Oh, that's a good point. Hey, audience, we haven't had a guest on it forever for one of these. Anyone you want in particular? Just make them be cool. Make them be cool. That's all I ask.
People we don't have active feuds with would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You
know what? We don't need any guests. That's a joke. Anyways.
Anyway, Ian, you offer coaching. If folks would like to see you to get some of that, how may they do that?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. What's up? Ian here. If you are interested in being coached with the person with one of the longest careers in cEDH and the most tournament wins with different archetypes than any other player.
And 3 time twisters.
And yeah, Mr. 3.25 Twisty Fisties. If you're interested in that, hit me up at comedianmtg@gmail.com or any of the places that Cal is nice enough to leave in the link tree down below. Also, one of the coolest parts of this tournament that I didn't get to talk about this weekend was that I played in the finals with one of my students, which was super cool. Woo! Who's been working with me like really like the full, what's the nose to the paper and axe to the grindstone, whatever the metaphor it is. Someone who's been busting their butt to improve over, basically has been playing less than a year, and we got to play finals together, which was freaking awesome. And also, had either of us won, we would have had matching records. So I ended 5-1-1, he ended 4-2-1, and if he'd won, he would have been 5-1. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely killed it. So like, it's literally my favorite thing as a coach. I tell people all the time, like, I started in childcare. I love what I do for a living. I love coaching people, and seeing the people I work with genuinely succeed makes me ecstatic. And I have had that humbling experience of losing to my students before. It is very funny. Like, it's great. But honestly, I'm so proud every time it happens. So if you're interested in jumping in for some of that, hit me up.
Hey students, I got the key to beating Ian. Keep Craft Digger's Cage and keep a curse.
Yeah. Wait until I play a deck that specifically folds to Tivit hate pieces, and then play me at an SCG. This seems to be the fucking method to success, you piece of shit.
I am 3-0 against Ian. Oh my goodness. If you want to support us here on the Mind Sculptors, you can head over to patreon.com/the Mind Sculptors and help support us over there. We are going to be at MagicCon Atlanta. We will have some information about all of that. And again, we are going to be in Niagara Falls at the end of November for the Frenzy at the Falls event. So stay tuned for more information there. With that being said, I'm Cal.
I'm Ian.
Stay sculpty, everybody.